Hello, fifth grade art students. Today we're going to talk about our first main project. The subject is pop art. What is pop art though? The pop in pop art is short for popular. Pop art is an art movement that began in the 1950s and it flourished in the 1960s in America and Great Britain. It also was present in other countries around the world, but it was especially popular in the English-speaking countries. During this movement, artists wanted to highlight commercial objects and objects found in pop culture. Pop art often used bright colors to get a striking and noticeable visual. On the screen is an example of a comic-style pop art by Roy Lichtenstein. He used lots of circles in his artwork to create that comic book style that you would see in old newspapers. Above that is an example of a familiar image, which is basically a pop art subject. It's a painting by Jasper Jones, and the familiar image is the American flag. So something found in our culture, in the US at least. Pop artists created art about daily life. This made art seem familiar to the public, and the people loved it. For example, there's a David Hockney painting that shows a scene of a swimming pool. And to the right of that is a Marjorie Strider painting, and it uses a common household object as its subject. So you see a very famous brand of baking soda, Arm & Hammer. Who is Andy Warhol? Andy Warhol was the leader in the pop art movement. He often used printmaking techniques for his artwork. This means he could take one image and replicate it in different colors multiple times. By making prints, Warhol could work as quickly as machines in factories. He made brightly colored images of products and celebrities. For example, this is his Campbell's soup image that he would make many prints of. When I think of Warhol, I think of his soup art or his colorful portraits. Here's one of the celebrity portraits that I'm talking about. It's a Marilyn Monroe portrait. And you can see that there's many different versions of it. There's lots of colors within it. And the colors don't necessarily match what you would see in real life. So there's a blue portrait, red portrait, pink. For our project, we will create a work of art in the style of Andy Warhol. We're going to draw a picture of an everyday object or something from current pop culture. And pop culture could mean something like your favorite cartoon. That's part of pop culture. Anything you see in the media, so like on TV. Or you could still choose to do an everyday object that you have in your household. We will draw the picture over and over again and color it using different color families that we learned about in class last week, if you remember that presentation. Here's some examples from last year that students made. One student chose to do an old style TV, and this is how our project is going to be set up. You're going to have 4 different panels within the artwork, and you're going to repeat that image 4 different times. But notice how each square has a different color scheme. Another student decided to make a mouse as their subject. Let's talk about how we're going to do this. Okay, And I have this video linked on the Google Classroom post so you can watch it as many times as you need. Here's some supplies you need. A paper, a pencil, scissors, and colored pencils. So you need to find an object around your house to draw. First, you're going to fold your paper in half and then fold it into thirds. Cut off the last third. Decide how you want to place your object and then draw it on that little paper that you just cut off the big paper. You're going to trace it. So you're going to trace over your picture really hard. See how you can see those lines really good? Flip it over. Place it on one of the 4 squares of your final paper. Take your scissors and rub the back of the page. What this is going to do is it's going to transfer the drawing you put on the small paper onto your final paper. Notice how they're doing it 4 different times because you got to fill those 4 different squares on your final paper project. Final project paper. Okay, the last step is coloring. You need to color in your 4 images. So, like I mentioned before, you're going to be using color schemes. Think back to that presentation from last week and color it in complementary color schemes. So notice how she's coloring hers using a red and a green in one square, and then in another square she's doing blue and orange. You must use a color scheme whenever you're coloring your project. And that's her final work. This is very pop art in Andy Warhol style. The image has very bright colors and it pops out. So you guys are going to be doing this project. I'll end off on the examples from last year. Good luck.